know this is going to sound like sacrilege to some, but I'm a pretty avid reader, and I've never gotten round to reading Treasure Island. As a kid, I never really went through that pirate-loving phase that other kids did. I mean, I saw a couple of episodes of Pirates of Darkwater, but it was no Around the World with Willy Fogg. So with that being said, it took me a while to research whether or not the protagonist of the story has to fight his way past 3 blind Muslim women to get onto the pirate ship. I'm struggling to find any mention of it, but this is where the game begins. Jim Hawkins, seen here looking like the finalist in an air guitar competition, needs to get on board the Hispaniola, but to do so, a rudimentary game of Frogger has to take place. But it's Frogger done at a weird, slightly isometric angle. The enemies and the exit are on a slant, but you, the player, can only move in 4 cardinal directions. This is great, because the hit detection is absolutely perfect on this game. Just like in real life, if something touches your general aura, rather than your physical self, you will melt away from existence. Yes, hit detection is an absolute shit fit. I was being facetious. It's something that you're going to have to get used to, though, because it's a problem throughout the entire game. If it looks like it's going to hit you, it probably already has done. So once you've made it past these 3, you'll have one other minor problem to get past. The ramp that leads to the boat is very picky about where you stand. You need to come at it from the right hand side, because if you try to climb up it from the front or too far from the left, it's just not going to register that you're even there. It's the most ignorant boat ramp I have ever met in my life. So, you've beaten the Frogger clone. What's next? Oh Christ, I remember these things. You know, even now I had to really stare at this screen for a solid minute before I understood what it was I was looking at. As a kid, I thought these things were burly snorks trying to Copperfield. No, those are pirates. It's just that the difference in size is really something. Why are they so damn big compared to Hawkins? They're absolutely terrifying. Also, this is the point where I find out that the jump button is in a ridiculously awkward place. The controls are Q and A for vertical movement, O and P for horizontal. Where would you put the jump button in this situation? The space bar? No, we have to keep that free just in case someone presses it by accident. We should make the jump button full stop instead, because players need crab hands. Yes, I get it. The original ZX Spectrum had its spacebar in the bottom right because Clive Sinclair was an absolute maverick, but still, I had a Spectrum 128K+2. Let me change the key setup, for heaven's sake. Well, regardless, this section is over in less than a minute. Jump the barrels and avoid the touchy-feely pirates. Once you've done that, you're free to venture on to Treasure Island itself and find a pirate's booty.
Away! They're going to serving by Navy!
Away! Before we carry on with Treasure Island itself, a brief step back in time. When I first got my ZX Spectrum Plus 2, it came with a collection of games. These were Crazy Golf, Punchy, Alien Destroyer, Disco Dan, Oh Mummy, and Treasure Island. Treasure Island in particular stood out to me as being a game that really took you on an adventure. Board the ship, escape the snorks, explore the island. In my haze of nostalgia, the only part of this treasure hunt I really remembered were a few screens of pirates and dodging swords. Going back to the game now, 35 years after it was first published, its flaws begin to seep through the cracks like a rickety old lifeboat made from MDF and string. Let's start with the good. The game looks pretty damn good for something that was made in 1984. Landscape in particular during this treasure hunt part is really well realised, although this thing here, this prison cell with a man in it and a heart symbol. At first I thought this was like an extra life, or that I had to throw a sword at it, or anyway, in general, I thought it was an actual thing to do with the game. But no, it's the Mr. Micro logo. For some reason, even though they've painted this wonderful landscape of rivers and mountains and deserts and forests, they've then gone and stuck the developer's logo right in the middle of it. Just baffling. The animations for the game also start to get a little wonky here. The pirates are fine enough, but look, I know cocaine was pretty popular in the 80s, but Hawkins looks like he's had a speedball for breakfast. Again, this could all be completely on par with the book. I haven't read it, but I don't really remember people talking about the scene in Treasure Island where Jim Hawkins had to get a shot of adrenaline to the heart. Jim's hyperactive running spasms are a blessing and a curse. For one, you'll likely need to do a lot of backtracking, which we'll come to later. So being able to charge your way around this island is a definite blessing. On the other hand, combined with the insane hit detection, you're going to end up getting stabbed by a flying sword more often than not. Some of the pirates will throw a sword at you if you get close enough, and your defense here is to run away. So you have to edge toward the pirates, but edging toward things is not in Hawkins' vocabulary. You'll slide toward the pirates, you will spasm toward the pirates, you will never edge toward the pirates. Now, only some of the pirates are going to throw swords at you. There's no telling which ones those are going to be, but it's always the same pirates that throw and the same pirates that don't throw in each game. The ones that don't throw swords aren't pacifists though, and in fact, they're the most dangerous pirates you're going to come across in this game. Here's how progress is made during this phase of Treasure Island. You scour the map to look for a key and then the treasure chest. There are other items as well, though I don't actually think they do anything. There's cheese, a spade, a skeleton, all good, healthy things for a young boy to collect. To progress around the map, you're going to have to get past the pirates, who will block all the routes you need to take. Touch a pirate, Jim's dead. How do you get past a pirate? You throw a sword at them. Where do you get swords from? Well, there are a few that can be found on the ground, but you'll get the vast majority of them from the pirates themselves. To do this, you get close enough to make them throw one, dodge it, go and pick it back up. Now, I actually quite like this mechanic. It's pretty fun dodging swords and using their own weapons against them. But here's the problem, and it's a pretty big one. The swords are finite. Once you pick up a pirate's sword, he won't throw any more. As mentioned earlier, some of the pirates don't throw swords at all. You could always just use one of those sword pickups that you found lying around. Well, yes, but those come with their own problems. You can only pick up a single sword at a time. If you walk over a sword while you're already carrying one, then it just gets absorbed into Hawkins' body. The sword is no longer usable. You have depleted Treasure Island of its rarest and most important resource. It's therefore very possible to undo your progress by accidentally wasting swords, picking up more than one sword, or using a sword on a pirate you didn't need to kill. Some of the winding paths here will loop back onto themselves. You only ever want to kill what stands in your way of progress. Everything else is a waste. And Treasure Island is a big place too, with confusing funnels and loopbacks that cause you to wander in circles for ages until you get your bearings. I got so lost in Treasure Island, I decided to get thematic. I got myself a treasure map.
Hey, Mike found a map!
Yeah,
Hey, look, that says 1632. Is that a year or something?
Even with a map, I struggled to find my way through this game. Firstly, there's this absolute arsehole of a pirate right here. She stood right in a doorway that requires Hawkins to turn on the spot to aim at her. But, as previously mentioned, Hawkins does not do subtle. Hawkins wants to charge at this bitch 99% of the time. Most of my games of Treasure Island come to an end right here, with this one enemy, because turning Hawkins round to aim a sword at her requires the deftest touch of the A button to get him in position without killing himself. But I persevered. I got to this point, maybe about 75% of the way through. I go to throw a sword and... oh, my sword has vanished. That's right, my sword vanished. Are there any other swords around? Well, I could backtrack all the way to the beginning of the level, probably die a few times on the way there. At this point, I may as well just start again. I get further still, and then I get stuck at this point. Hawkins decides he loves his sword so much he wants to keep it. He has superglued that bastard sword to his hand and refused to let go. I wore my M key down to a nub trying to throw this sword, but Hawkins had completely bugged out. I guess I'll start again. So finally, I get hold of the key and I make my way to the treasure chest. At this point, I could have probably read the novel twice and found out if there really were 3 blind Muslims trying to stop Jim Hawkins getting on a boat. But no, I've spent my afternoon completing this game. So I pick up the treasure chest, the first time I've ever gotten to this point in the game, and nothing. Well, not nothing exactly. Hawkins now has a ghostly figure of himself that leaves projections on the level. Like, seriously, I think the speedball has started to wear off and he's going insane. Aside from that, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. Does it want me to go and collect all the cheese? Please don't tell me it wants me to collect all the cheese. By sheer luck or circumstance, I stumbled across the final part of the game by accident. As I was making my way back to the beginning, on the assumption that it wanted me to go back there for some reason, I came across this opening leading to a ship. Aha! This must be the ending. Then this happens. The game goes completely unresponsive. Have I done something wrong? Has the game crashed? So I look online and watch a walkthrough of someone else completing the game, and apparently this is the ending. This is how Treasure Island finishes. There's no congratulations, no cheers. Even Treasure Island Dizzy gave me more than this. Is this a bug? Is this what the developer actually foresaw when he envisioned the ending? Is this how the book ends? I really need to go and read this book. So plagued by his hallucinations was Mr. Hawkins that he was plunged into eternal night upon boarding the ship. The end. Oh, I guess it does follow the book pretty closely. So look, here's the thing. Treasure Island is probably the first game I ever played in my life. I've vivid, fond memories of playing it, even if I could only get 3 screens into the treasure hunt before being killed off. Can I recommend it now? Sadly, no. It's frustrating, it's buggy, it's infuriating, and outside of getting completely lost and running in circles for 20 minutes, it's also extremely short. As of posting this video, the game regularly sells for around £2 to £3, and if that's all the money you can afford to spend, then you're not going to have enough money to afford the bottle of rum you need to wash the game down. Treasure Island? More like Bad Time Island. I should have ended on a better pun.